Hello and welcome to another episode of Heal and Shift. I'm your host, Sunita, and I'm delighted today to introduce a lady called Magali Mazzei, who I have known for some years. But just a bit of a background to this podcast first. So this is a podcast to really get behind the process of healing in thought leaders, in expert guides, in expert caregivers, in leading practitioners, in teachers, and really understand how they manage to develop their awareness to become less attached to themselves through that transformation, through that process, to then be able to support others. Some go on to support humanity and also the planet, where many of us actually can be held back by our ego. So these episodes are all about giving you insights into how you can make sense of life experiences. They're all about helping you connect with your most authentic self. They're all about teaching you how you can even cultivate practices that enhance the evolution of your spirit to achieve a better outcome for you and your life. So for those of you who are not familiar with my dear guest today, Magali Mazzei, hello Magali, hi, thank you for joining. Magali is a former, she's a former dancer with the group Universal Fancy Dancers, and she's performed with the absolute great. So she's performed with people like Sven Fett, who was the godfather of the techno music movement. She's performed with people like Pascal Fiez, with Prodigy, with Jean-Michel Jarre. I mean, I remember some of those guys from my dancing days, which is just amazing. But today, Magali guides people, generally high-profile people, celebrities, and some members of royalty who experience some type of trauma, and she also supports them with their health issues. But today, what I want to do is really understand about Magali's mindset. And now, when I first met you, Magali, a few years ago, you came to my opening, my beautiful wellness spa centre, and you gave me what I now know was a lucky penny. It was a penny of abundance. And, in that moment, I thought, oh, my God, what a beautiful woman. You're very uplifting. You've got a magical spirit about you. But I know life wasn't always like this. And, you did share your story with me. And for many years, you were married to a very powerful man, one of the wealthiest men in Europe. And, I know you met naturally through your work as a dancer, which put you into contact with him and his world. Now you were married, I believe you were together for 15 years, married for 10. And but eventually you had to pull yourself away from that marriage. So when you separated, he became quite controlling through that relationship. So when you made that separation, now a lot of women, a lot of women, even into our world, will, being with a man like that gives us a lot of security. It gives us a lifestyle. You get connection to so many different types of people all over the world. But you had the strength to pull away. So what was the bigger driver? Was it the dissatisfaction with the security of life then, or was it about being pulled to a better future? And you had no certainty of that future coming to fruition. So what was it? What was that turning point?
So turning point was the second option you mentioned. It was really an inner calling, a voice facing breaking news, facing the increasing, separation between middle class, upper class, lower class, as we know it in this system. And that really hit so much my heart, basically sitting in front of the same news with my ex-husband, and facing the problems without any real solutions, and just really just waste the time and energy in talking about the problems, having all the power on the hand to really make some waves in education and financial investment, who would really serve with solutions, basically with an holistic approach of life and a concept that really integrates all aspects of our being, not only the physical one, but also the energetical one, and also the global body, which is the earth we're living on and the universe we're in. So all that really triggered me so much that at some point I had to make a choice, because we were just looking in total different directions at that very point of choice making.
So something in you had changed, because, you know, you'd been with this man for 15 years. So for 15 years, you had been on the same path. You know, you had been going to the parties and enjoying the lifestyle, and, you know, flying everywhere. And so, you know, and conventional notions of marriage, you know, you know, that is the recommendation from some of our elders as well, you know, that you know, marry a good man, marry a man who can look after you. Now, obviously, things have changed. Us as women, we have a lot more options now. But what you obviously went on a journey of transformation. So what happened to move you from being okay with this lifestyle and really not seeing all of the other things that you talk about, you know, the poverty in the world, the requirement of better education, how you could better spend your resources? For 15 years, you hadn't seen that. So what was the trigger? What changed?
Well, it's not that I hadn't seen that. Our relationship basically didn't start through his wealth. That was basically at the beginning really, how do you say, a no-go for me, because by nature I'm a free spirit. I really love to go wherever I want, whenever I want, and not to compromise. So the relationship between us started because he didn't mind about me being a free spirit. We had a lot of discussions, and when we met, it was not about coming together or something like that. It really was, I would say, I don't like to say by coincidence, but because I love to say cosmic synchronicity, but it was really not, let's say, not meant to be for him and for me, because he's like a total control freak in his nature, and I'm a really free spirit. Like, I never wanted to marry. I have seen this this education and this marriage. My grandparents were married for 65 years, you know, with all colors included. My parents were just married because I was on the way, you know, the fruit of a passion had to become legal in the 70s. And since then, my father married 4 times. So you see, I had both polarities of encountering the theme of marriage. So for me, it was really at the beginning not at all to go with him. Basically, his wealth was one reason that I said, well, that's too much change for me. I'm sorry. And then he was like, you're totally not normal. Let me surrender who you are. And we were into almost 15 years dialogue. Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel you had to modify your behavior? Did you have to pacify your spirit? Yeah. How did that feel?
So we had like every relationship when it's new, to go through the frictions and the waves of, you know, first you're entering in, as I love to name it, the marketing wave, where you present yourself and it's like all light, all super and wonderful. And then it comes really to a part when you come together, where then you come in the account department, you know, and you check, so how do we want to move on in the next wave, you know, who is taking which responsibility. And he was thriving, and he was really providing on our level. And for the very first time in my life, because we really had that ease, I decided to stop working. But for me, it was giving up really autonomy. And that was a big deal for me at the beginning. So, but on the other side, I was 28 when I met him, almost 29. And I was like, if you're not giving into love now, if you're not taking the time to give yourself permission to heal your heart and to start a love story as it's presenting now, then if you do it not now, when? So I gave into it, and I really had mostly a wonderful time with him. You know, we were a fusional couple. Like we didn't need anybody else than each other. Of course, we had the family around and everything, but 48 hours were together. And we never got tired about that, you know, until something changed in me. And I really went into a process of healing really all traumas and wounds, you know, of my personal journey from childhood on. And that was the beginning of the end between us, because he couldn't handle not to be providing and controlling also that, you know, because he was taking care of everything. So why should I start to engage in our own thinking and journeying, you know?
And what, you know, this journey that you went on, this journey of healing, of you know, and I think, you know, I can completely relate to that to myself. You know, when I look back at my past life and relationships as well, there's not so many dissimilarities, and certainly there have been controlling partners, and then this evolution of really finding out who we are, you know, who I am, who you are at a core. And so what motivated the change for you? Was there an episode? Was there something, or was this a natural evolution that you were going through?
No, that was a really tremendous episode. Basically, we traveled also a lot, you know, to enjoy the pleasure of this planet. And I had one friend of me who was dental medicine PhD, and he created the foundation Dentist Without Borders. And so he asked me to support him designing the logos at that time. You know, I had time, and he was my friend, and I loved the action he was engaging in. And then he said, well, can you support financially? And I'm like, you know what? I'm so tired about all those organizations. Even if I know you, at some point, the money you're giving in is getting lost in corruption and so I said, but what can I do as non-PhD, you know, to bring myself in? And he said, well, if you can face it, then spend one of your golden time in luxury and in just relaxing on a mat on the sea, on the pool or whatever, and spend half of a day of your how do you say, holiday with poverty. And I'm like, what do you mean with poverty? And he's like, yes, go to children's home or whatever. You will not have to go far to find poverty, you know. And I really went with that into our next trips, and my ex-husband supported me also. And that's one day of our holidays were dedicated to an orphanage or to some organization. For me, it was the children all the time. And then I went into my self-development and certifications also. As you know, I turned a Vedic master from the Chopra Center. That was just one part of the, let's say, official certifications, you know, besides the journey with monks in the Himalaya, going with the children monks and meditating under the trees in caves or something like that is also part of my journey. So I went the whole rainbow of experience. And the children were like really always the main focus for me. And it turned that when I left from the holidays, the story was not done. I took the children in my mind and in my heart with me. And, you know, the living in the extremes of landing back home in a 30 million expensive house, you know, just one of some more, and having that chat with those girls. Most of the time it were girls basically that when I arrived, they were praying maybe day 3 or 4 because they had to go without food into bed and sleeping on the floor, like really the extreme poverty, financially spoken. I was like really in my heart, like stretched from that experience. And I really did every step towards really starting to invest in their education and stop those children to become prey for abuse, sexual abuse, or some kind of insane sacrificing, because this is also existing, or just getting caught to get in an arranged marriage, and or getting taken away from some extremist belief systems to let them pray also on a mat, you know, but just with other intentions, like we know it from the ISIS and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
So facing all that and having been on the table with the let's say dark side of our society, which is very wealthy and very settled and very powerful, and seeing all that really motivated me, haunted me also to get it sorted, you know.
Yeah. When I listen to you, so my first trip, I was born in the UK, and my parents came here in 72 together. I was born in 73, and I was 7 when I first went to India. And I remember really that was a big transformation for me. It was the first time I'd seen such poverty. It was the first time I'd seen the separation between the way that people live, and my heart just opened up, you know, and I knew in that moment that I wanted to create a world of more love and of more connection. And you know, that took me first down the road of journalism, you know, where I thought, well, I can disseminate truth, and you know, then that took me into my journey as a practitioner and Ayurveda, and going into healing and how we can support people through that transformation. So I totally understand what you're saying, and you know, when we go up, you know, and now we're living at a time where we really are starting to understand how crazy it is that we have all these different levels of society, that we are, you know, living in some sort of matrix, and it's completely unnecessary. There's enough abundance for everyone in the world. So I get that you know, that this transformation brought so many benefits to you. You know, it was a new Magali, you know, shone her light. And once you've seen this, you know, there is no going back. Once your eyes are open, there is no going back. But, you know, your position was different. You know, you're living in this £30 million property. You have an exclusive lifestyle. You know, you have, you know, access to all these millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires. I can imagine what the dinner parties were like. So, you know, if we can just get back a little bit to thinking about how do you peel yourself out of an environment like that, because it takes a very, very strong person to do that. So something, you know, really very, very strong inside you. But also, what did your peers think? What did people think around you? You know, those that had seen you living this life and married to this man.
So I can tell you that still today, I'm sure a lot of them thinks I run crazy. For a couple of time, some thoughts were like I have landed in a sect, you know, and so everything was in. Some of my closest friends also asked me if I'm crazy. That's also what happened. But let's say the core of my friends and family, like that were with me before this financial wealth and are still with me today, they just accepted it because they have seen so many phases of my transformations, from very, very toxic start, like very toxic. My life started with basically with death because I was a blue baby, you know, so I had to fight into life, into this life. I really wanted. And childhood was also a very traumatic, really traumatizing, with what I went through with my mother. She was in a sect, and so I really went through things that, let's say, created natural antibodies with some energetic subjects like that. And leaving this harbor, let's say, of super wealth, and knowing that, well, I would say 90, maybe 95% of society today is begging to get there, basically, because we are really in a insanely, basically, motivated, money motivated and greediness system. We kind of stuck in that system. We have reached, I would say, the 0.0 of the topic at the moment, which is fine because it's part of the rising. You have to hit the floor first to rise even higher to what wherever you want. This is what we will decide, you know.
Yes. And that's if we decide we all want to live in a better world for everyone. You know, that's the point. That's the question, isn't it? And you know, when you talk about this whole, you know, a lot of people still being driven by desire and by material success, and you know, I look at it as a vibration. So there is a science behind all of this. And yes, the most of us are living in this sort of this fear mode where security, you know, it's not just about security, but it's all about accumulation and getting more and having more. And but actually there is enough for everyone. And once you start to accelerate past that and you move more into acceptance and peace and joy, you know, we also start to understand that actually our happiness, you know, it isn't our real happiness, real joy at that core level, at that very, very spiritual level, actually isn't connected to the amount that we have or we earn. It's actually connected to our karmic duties, the actions that we put in the world. So it sounds to me that really was a big lesson for you.
Yes, I would add to what you just said. I think we are going through a deep spiritual experience from the beginning of creation on this in this universe, but also on this planet. We experiencing, let's say, since some tender 5,000, 6,000 years, or maybe longer or not. It depends on which calendar we're talking, on which timeline. You know, but we're experiencing now, let's say, the deep spiritual dark aspect of creation, which is, when you look in an atom, it is 99.99% of an atom is empty dark space. To have this 0.01% of light, which is also known as Lucifer. You know, Luz is the light in Latin, and the metal is the iron, the fer, Lucifer. So the light comes through the iron into this world. That's a way of explaining let's say, the atom of creation. So the dark aspect is not something to push away. It's part of the experience we have started in life, what we call everything in universe, solar system, everything, and reduced to our daily life, you know. So it is a deep spiritual, even this system is deep spiritual on its fundamentals, but in a dark action, in limited belief system of there is not enough. And I would say, if we keep this system as it is now alive, then we won't have enough for everybody. That's the effect of this cause.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but there is enough for everybody. There, I agree. We just need to change slightly our mindset from limited edition into infinite abundance, you know, like the elements are teaching us. When you look at the sea, you know, oceans, we have 7 seas, 5 oceans, and everything is connected with each other. And when you look at that, it's infinite. It's endless, you know. And
if now for you, you know, this, your journey of healing, of awareness, it brought you to Ayurveda, it brought you to Vedic knowledge, it brought you to the spiritual systems.
And
so yeah, and do you think if people were brought up to have the kind of self-awareness and balance that Ayurveda makes possible, that studying the Vedas makes possible, that understanding cosmic creation, you know, from a spiritual perspective makes possible, do you think then the world would be different?
Definitely, because if I'm convinced of it, that if we find really a bridge between the most ancient knowledge, which is known as the Ayurveda, basically, it's the most ancient written knowledge that we have available as humanity today. So if we find the bridge from here to there, and to the quantum science that is opening, like, really tremendously our way of thinking, and going on the cellular and atom level, if we can create here and now, while we're talking, you and me, in that very present, really the bridge between that ancient knowledge and for tomorrow, then we have a whole system that is not in a pyramid, like the Maslow pyramid, you know, of satisfaction. Then we create around this this pyramid a circle, which make it then whole and fluid again. And then we meet again. Nobody is above, as above, so below, as beside, and all around, you know. So then we get into what you rightly called a new vibration that makes the music just a little bit more lighter and more funny.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. This, you know, Magali, this, you know, it's been a big piece of work for you. This new incarnation, this, you know, this transformation into the Magali that we know today has led you to developing your own system called Anahata Flow. And I know that's the system that you share with your clients. And also, I know you collaborate with other initiatives as well through that. So people who participate in your healing programs, you know, what do they have the opportunity to learn? How do you take them through this process?
So basically, we look into the blockages where there are at the very point of trauma. And then we go through the program that I put in place, which is sense art, through all the 5 senses. So how to go through the blockages with art, to put, for example, the pain into a thing. So with a painting. Or we will go into some revelations through the movement of the body, through guided dance, which I put into Decoding Your Inner Da Vinci. Then we go into the sacred geometry, into the frequency. I work with solfeggio frequencies also. I add that. Then there is a hands-on assist also to align in the frequency field. This is something that I basically, this is what I'm majorly doing, is aligning the people in their frequency, in their electromagnetic field. This is something that now I have name for it, but I was, since I can think, basically capable to do. I just didn't know for a long time how to use that because I didn't have the education for that, you know. Mm-hmm. And lilies, which is basically the seed Anahata Flow, what you said, it has turned now the flower lilies, the light of the fleur de lis, is about finding your personal lifestyle formula, basically, to thrive through the blockages, to be also at ease with your dark side. Very at ease, as much as ease with your dark side as with your light side. So to really get into the holiness of who we are in our masculine and feminine energy in one body, as one collective.
Yeah, I mean, to me, when I listen to you, it really feels like a fusion, you know, between sort of this combined, traditionally maybe clinical way, but also traditional cultural healing practices, and fusing the two. And I can completely see how you embody that, you know, from your experience as a dancer and working with the body and understanding the body in that way. And what excites me about this is the people that you're working with. So you're working at a very, very high level. So it would be really interesting to know, you know, those who have been introduced to your healing programs, who have brought the practices into their life, are there any case studies where you can see that actually through that transformation, they've gone on to do something that is now helping humanity or helping the planet in some way?
Yes, all of them, because once you start to be at ease in your personal environment, you radiate differently. So to help the world is not to always go out and invest in orphanages, like, for example, I did, or invest in organizations. It starts, healing the world starts with healing yourself, and then being like a light inspiration for your husband, for your children, for your neighbor, then for your village maybe, or for your city, for every person, you know, with a smile, with a hug, with compassion, basically, and to see to be conscious also where you at, and even when you're at your dark time. I mean, I meet myself in my dark room minimum 5 times a day, you know, and I'm really dancing with my shadows, and with all that in my education was told to push away, not to be like that. You have to be a nice girl, you have to be that. Well, that made me a rebel, you know. So to be with that rebel at ease also, and to acknowledge yourself on all level of and all aspects of your being, I think you serve the world with that.
You serve the world with that. Wow, that's powerful. Now, and what a great message. So thank you so much for that, Magali, because, you know, some may be nervous. They may think, oh my God, if I start looking within, if I start opening up the Pandora's box, you know, what's going to come out? How long is it going to take me to clear all of this debris and move on? And, you know, they want change, but, you know, people want change in a tablet, and they don't want to do the deep dive work. And it is work, you know. None of this happens overnight, but ultimately we become freer. That's also been my experience. We become freer. We become we're not fearful. We become connected to something beyond us, and ultimately, you know, are in a place where we're able to serve, you know, a greater cause. And yes, I mean, when you're supporting, you know, the clients you're supporting at that level, they have they have big platforms, you know, that ultimately can create change at a greater level. So yeah, we want more of that, you know, we need a bigger driver behind that. Just to go back to your relationship, sorry to backtrack a little bit, but you know, there may be, again, you know, there may be people listening to this podcast, and maybe that is, you know, maybe that's the priority list is, I'm going to hang out in certain places, I'm going to wear certain dresses, I'm going to go here, because that, you know, I want to find a man that has that tick list. So you're experiencing now, and sort of the disruption of the ripples that you've had over time, and I know it was a love marriage, you know, it's not like you say, you met very organically and very naturally, but what would be your how can we better conceive of better ways to approach relationships in the 21st century?
Well, I would say it literally before you go into a relationship with a man or a woman, or maybe as a woman with another woman, or with another man, whatever you have to work out, masculine or feminine energy, first, you have really to put into mind that this concept of making the empty part in us missing. It may be we have a masculine energy that is begging for complementary, instead of looking for the complementary in the partner. You know, to like, I'm a handicapped people because I'm half happy. I need a man to fulfill the masculine happiness, and vice versa. You have to include the masculine and the feminine both first, to be whole in yourself, and from there just radiate literally that to the other, and meet as whole persons and not as handicapped persons, you know, that are just trying to balance the disease. So that is what I would say for today. We need more to work on ourselves and to self-heal the traumas that are in us, instead of attracting a partner that is just mirroring the trauma again, like
or the lack, or like you say, the lack. Yeah, exactly. The lack. Yeah, because there is no lack, you know, and it goes back to really everything you've shared in this conversation. Yeah, I'm with that. It's taken me a lifetime really to understand that concept.
Me too.
And I think now, you know, wow, you know, actually I don't need to change anything, you know, to attract the right partner. I just have to show up. I have to shine my light. I have to be true to myself. There's nothing wrong with anything, you know, and we're all good enough, and we're all worthy of love, and we're all worthy of acceptance. And if that's what you're looking for, you know, a relationship on that kind of, that conscious level, then what I realize all that needs to change is your approach to it. Yeah, absolutely. Now Magali, just really thank you so much for your knowledge and insight. Just really to wrap up, you know, 20 years ago, I get an idea of who you were and that whole life, and it was very, you know, really exciting. Again, I completely relate to it. All the years I had traveling and, you know, meeting really influential people all over the world. It was part of my growth and my self-development and my evolution. So where will you be in 20 years time?
So 20 years from now? So 20 years from now ahead, if everything like unfolds like I dream it, and I have it in my heart, and I feel it, I will be somewhere on an island with Lily's Education Center, and work with superhumans that are at the beginning of finding out what kind of superpowers and skills they have to enhance the wealth of themselves for the collective, that creates, yes, basically the most beautiful planet, universe, environment of joy, of laughter, of ecstasy, pure nectar of life. And how to serve with that, because we all have those capacities and we have been trained and educated to function, but not to blossom, basically, and to find out what our unique talents and gifts are that we want to share and play with the world, you know. We have been educated like an elephant and a bird sitting next to each other, and you try to tell the elephant that he is not capable, he's dumb because he's not capable to fly, you know. And the elephant turns depressive because he thinks, I'm totally incapable to fly like my neighbor the bird, you know. But well, this is not what you're meant to be. and that is really in 20 years I'm there with my super lover also, because yes, that's beautiful.
Yes, at a glance, I see it now. Yeah.
Yeah, so and we exchange, make love every day, and not only with our bodies but with the world, you know.
With the world.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. So really, this is a message, you know, this is a message for those, I think, really in leadership positions, or you know, who are looking to move forward. And may know they need to do a little bit of work on themselves. You know, it's part of the self-development process. It's as we heal ourselves, we become, you know, we move ourselves into a position where we're then able to serve at that greater level. So to connect with you, it's Anahata Flow, is that right?
No, it's Lilies. It's
Lilies. Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
Anahata Flow is basically the seed, so it's the name of the company, but for the law, you know.
Yes.
And Lilies is basically the outwarding.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, my dear, and I certainly hope, you know, I'm with you on the 20-year goal and insight, and
say goodbye.
Oh, goodbye. Hello, beautiful. Hello. And let's put it out there that really, you know, in 20 years' time, we will be living in quite a different atmosphere. I'd like to say that, you know, we're no longer part of the matrix, that we're not, you know, controlled by all of these crazy systems, that we've all, you know, majority of us been able to connect with our divine self.
So,
and we're all, you know, really supporting each other on a conscious level. Yeah. Wonderful.
Celebrating each other.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really fun with you.